welcome to NAPOD, where we provide NA speaker meetings and workshops in a podcast. We are an ad-free podcast, and if you enjoy listening, please help us to be self-supporting by visiting napod.xyz, look for the donate link, and drop $1 or $2 in the virtual basket. If you're also in AA or have friends that are, please tell them about our other podcast, Sobercast. Sobercast features AA speakers and workshops in the same format as NAPOD. We upload a new speaker every day, and it's easy to subscribe by searching for Sobercast, that's 2 words, on any podcast player app, or go to Sobercast.com. Enjoy the podcast, and thanks for listening.
Okay, hi, my name's Carol Ann, and I'm an addict.
Hi, Carol Ann.
Hi, and it's good to be here, and it's real good to be clean. It's great to be clean, actually, today. I want to thank Jim for asking me to come down here tonight and share my experience, strength, and hope. I want to thank my husband for coming with me. I told Jim he's got a better story than I do. You ought to get him. He said, okay. And also, Rudy, thank you very much for sharing your experience, strength, and hope again. I love Rudy. I've known Rudy for years. And it just seems that as the years go on and we stay clean and, it's just that our lives just seem to get better and better and closer, huh? It's just really amazing to me. I got clean January 2nd, 1979, and my first meeting was in Impact House in Pasadena. And I'm real grateful to God and to Narcotics Anonymous that I've stayed here. I haven't had to go anywhere. And I haven't really wanted to. Sometimes I wanted to, but I didn't listen to, my addict thinking, which, I have a disease that tells me I don't have a disease. I have the disease of addiction to me. And it just wants to take me out there and kill me. And Rudy talked about the second step, and the insanity of the disease of addiction. When we came in here tonight, we didn't know where the meeting was. And this is how it gets if you stay around Narcotics Anonymous long enough and you get in touch with the fellowship and I think basically a power greater than yourself. We walked in, and my husband says, well, where are we going to go? And I said, well, I don't know. And I'm looking around, and I see Betsy and Caesar. Caesar, right? I see Betsy and Caesar, and I said, and they were walking. I know, isn't that the weirdest thing? And they were walking, like, over here by the vegetables, and I said, are you going to an NA? And they go, yeah, right up this way. So see, God's doing for me what I can't do for myself, and here we are. So that's been my experience in Narcotics Anonymous, that I just need to let go and trust in God, and little by little, it'll all work out and I'll be okay. I used to hang on to everything so tight, that white knuckle stuff. White knuckle. Because I'm hanging on so tight because I'm so living in fear and not in faith and a power greater than myself, And I never knew all that. I never knew any of that until I came to Narcotics Anonymous and, just sat down and was scared to death when I got here, that very first meeting. I can remember that. I was just like, oh my gosh, what's happened to me? I can remember that, feeling real fearful and real depressed. My first meeting of Narcotics Anonymous, like I said, was Impact House, and it was in January 1979, and Impact House in those days was very different than it is now, and now it's a lot more sophisticated and high tech and all that, and they have nice furniture. And when I got in there, they didn't. But we met a couple friends and people, and anyway, long story short, we went down to actually it was Richard Bloomfield. Richard Bloomfield has Richard Bloomfield. He's got about 28 or 29 years now, and I was with a friend of mine, Lita, and we were there, and Richard came up, hip, slick, and cool. Richard, yo, and right. And so we started introducing to Lita, and long story short, him and Lita have been married 24 years now, and we're all still really good friends. And anyway, Richard was talking about this meeting down in Highland Park. El Sereno, yeah. And so he said, "You want to go?" "Oh, yeah, man. I didn't have a problem going anywhere in East L.A. I used to go, score in East L.A., so I didn't have a problem. So went down there, and we went to the Outpost, and that's where we first met Rudy and Pablo and Terry, and that's the three I remember the most, and I mean, it wasn't real nice down there, not like it is now, but we went there for a meeting, and in those days when I was a newcomer, it was more about me, what am I going to get out of it? It was all about me. That's the way I used to go into meetings. I wasn't thinking, what can I contribute? I was totally a taker. I was not a giver. And it was, I took what I could when I could, and I wasn't trustworthy, and I wasn't responsible, and I was a liar, a cheat, and a thief, and that's the way, I came into Narcotics Anonymous. And I knew nothing about being loving or kind or giving or sharing or nurturing or any of that, I was totally selfish and self-centered. And I didn't know those things about myself. I knew I was a very angry person, and I knew that I hated my mother and father. Those kind of things I knew, yeah. I hated my mom and dad when I got here. And I hated my mother and father for what they did to me, and I hated my mother and father for what they didn't do, And so I came in here with a lot of anger. And little by little, I would, go to meetings, and I'd hear them say, get a sponsor, and women work with women, and men work with men, and that's how it was when I got here. I don't know, today, whatever, but that's my story. And who knows a woman better than another woman, and who knows a man better than another man? And, hey, it made sense to me, because when I was out there using men, I could always get over on a dude. If you swing it right long enough and right, you can kind of dude. You can kind of dude, man. Women can kind of dudes, but, it's like, and I knew that. And I knew that, well, yeah, maybe that makes a little bit of sense. You know what I mean? And so I eventually, I got a sponsor when I was about 4 months, and she was the one that we, like Rudy said, we didn't have the basic text. I have the first edition of the basic text, and that's the text that I've used since I've been here, and it's worked, and if it works, why fix it? That's the way I look at it. And I've used that, but Rudy is saying when we first got here, it was the AA Big Book and the 12 and 12, and until, a group got together and, the first basic text was written. And then eventually came the How and Why It Works, which is the 12 steps, and traditions, which I happen to think is I lean into that book a lot because I think it's well done for me. I comprehend that really well, and it's easy, it's, to read and everything, and maybe it's just the fact that I've, stayed clean, as long as I have helps too, and the fog took about 3-4 months for the fog to lift, you know what I mean? I sat in meetings when I was new a lot, and I cried a lot and snivelled a lot and complained a lot, but I had to do that, and I think the most important thing that, when I was new is that I didn't use no matter what. And I heard that, you don't use no matter what. And that's one thing, if I didn't hear anything else, I heard that, And I got into a service, and I started, being in meetings, my first commitment was bringing cookies, to a meeting. I was a cookie girl. I had all the cookies, I used to laugh on that, and then the coffee commitment, and then, and then worked up into being a treasurer and secretary and stuff like that, and stayed involved, and then I went on my first panel when I was 9 months clean. Yeah, went on a panel. And that started my involvement in H&I. And to this day, I'm still involved in H&I where I go on panels. I don't so much, carry panels like I used to, but I still go on panels and I'm doing hospital and institutional work. I've met people in prison that are now clean, and that's really a great feeling. I went up to, which was then Civil Brand. I started going to Civil Brand in the early 80s, and when I first went there, they wouldn't let Narcotics Anonymous go into Civil Brand because in the late 60s, they were allowing NA people to come in, and somebody from NA brought some contraband in, and so they just had a really total black mark against NA. It was never ever to be allowed in that institution again. And so, but I would go up on panels from another program, and I got to know the deputies there, and then they introduced me to the assistant warden, and then they introduced me to the warden, and I went there a lot, and I had a purpose for going there. I wasn't quite sure what it was, but I wasn't running the show. By this time in my recovery, I had learned, I was already, in the steps and taking steps, and, my sponsor and I, where she was taking me through the steps and stuff, and I was being of service, and I'm learning, and I'm learning, and I'm learning. So I'm going into SBI, once a month, sometimes twice a month, and, a lot of the girls that I'd see locked up, one of the reasons why I consistently went back and would volunteer to go, because a lot of the girls I'd see in NA, I'd see them locked up again. And they'd tell me, come back, come back. I said, yeah, man, I'll be back. God willing, I'll be back. And sure enough, I'd always get asked to go. And long story short, what happened was I asked the deputy Terry that was helping, with 12-step programs and, programs on self-esteem and stuff that she'd bring in that institution. I asked her if we could bring an NA meeting in, and she says, well, I don't see why not. She said, we know you well enough and we know you're trustworthy. And that was the first time somebody in that kind of a position had told me I was trustworthy. I really didn't know I was trustworthy until I heard that. And so then once again we got with the assistant warden, and then I went to Jim Leffley was the director of San Fernando H&I, and so I went to Jimmy Leffley and I said, hey Jimmy, we're going to get NA into Civil Brand, but I need your help, and the warden wants to meet you because you're the director. And so anyway, a few of us from the San Fernando H&I, we went into Civil Brand, and by the grace of God, and it was only by the grace of God, they let us start a meeting of Narcotics Anonymous in Civil Brand, which is now central, downtown, and they moved Civil Brand. And then I asked deputy, we had our first NA meeting in Civil Brand, and there was over 120 women in that meeting. They opened it up, because they would usually only let you have 50, but they opened it up for as many that wanted. And there were so many girls in that meeting that I knew that had come to meetings on the streets and started using it again and went back out, and there they were. Some of them, their moms were with them, mother-daughter teams. The girls that were using it because their moms would use, what I mean? And Deputy Terry would talk to me a lot about that this is, that she was saying like 90-some% of the women in the institution was based behind, drug and alcohol abuse. That's why they were there. And so, anyway, so long story short, again, I keep looking at that like that's a clock. I don't know what my trip is. Oh, you all do? Okay. I'm not the Lone Ranger. And I asked her if we could bring a meeting in each week, and that's what they started. They let us do that. Thanks, Rudy. they let us do that. So every week now there's a meeting, in county jail for Women's County, which is the biggest county jail for women in the United States of America. It has more inmates than any in the United States of America. And we take a meeting in once a week, and then they let us start a 12 and 12 meeting, So it's flourishing there. And that, that to me is the grace of God. It's like they told me to suit up, show up. You do the footwork, you do your best, and God will do the rest. And that's the way I understood it. And in my recovery, I've always been of service, and I like being of service. I love being active, in Narcotics Anonymous. It just keeps me so alive. And I love it. I love, being of service. And I sponsor a lot of women. One of the gals I'm privileged to sponsor, that I met her in her very, very first meeting in NA. We were in a NA Women's Stag out there in Archwood in North Hollywood, and she walked in all timid and shy, and there was about maybe 10 women at that meeting, and we get tipping and clicking in NA, and that's not cool, man, because we need to reach out to the newcomer, because when we're new and we walk in, we're so afraid, and do we belong here, and just all these crazy things, and I stood up and I shook her hand and I said, "Hi, I'm Carol Ann, and welcome to NA." And she said, well, she came out of Tarzana, and anyway, and I sponsored this woman today, and she's got like 18, 19 years. She spoke here, Cherry. She spoke here, and it's just such a blessing, 20? Oh my goodness, yeah. Time flies when you're having fun, and it's things like that that just make me feel so blessed, is what I feel. I'm blessed. And I know it's past knowing, it's just past that. It's just what is. And, so, my message for you is, for me, it's like you need to get, into the book and the basic text and start reading it, study it, get in a step study or a book study. This is what's worked for me. Being of service, helping others. And believe me, let me tell you, I made a lot of big old nasty mistakes in NA, and I still do sometimes, and I say really stupid things, and I do really stupid things, and I've embarrassed the hell out of myself. I've run on self-will and just been in so much pain because I want, and what I wanted almost killed me. But one thing I know for sure, because I'm clean, I stay clean, is that God has always given me what I need here. Always. I don't necessarily get what I want, but I sure as heck get what I need. And when I get what I need, I found out it's really what I always wanted since I have been here and didn't know it. Because my mind can't go there. My mind just doesn't know how to get from step 1 to step 12. It just can't. I gotta go 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I understand the process, and I've learned to trust the process. Trust the process, Oh, no, I can't do that, you know what I mean? I gotta get in there and somehow, some way do this, do that. I've gotta somehow control it. I'm a control freak, don't you understand? That's how I was. I had no idea what it was like to turn it over, really. Oh, I'll turn over my work life. Oh, I'll turn over my social life. My sex life, well, maybe not, stuff like, oh, money? I don't think so. One of my biggest defects of character has been materialism. I am a materialistic person. And I constantly have prayed about, and I think finally, I'm not tripping on that stuff so much anymore. It really doesn't matter quite as much as it used to. The clothes, the car, the job, the things, what I look like, and on, and it's just not so that much important anymore today. What a relief. And that's what I've gotten from the steps, is relief from that bondage of myself. Me. It's all about me. That stuff. It's really nice to think more about somebody else, and what can I do for you? And how can I help you today? And the steps, the steps and the principles contained within the steps, and I understand the principle, like of the first step being honesty. I understand that today. For me, each step has a principle contained within it, and for me to apply those principles that are contained within the steps is how I'm able to really be of service to others. I used to have, motives, my motives. What were my motives and all that? My motives always seemed good, but behind it was always something selfish. It was always about something, I'm going to get something out of it, because that's who I am, And little by little, that is changing. I didn't really know how to have a relationship when I got here. I didn't know how to have a relationship. I didn't know how to be with one person and be okay with one person, because I couldn't be okay with me. So how in God's name am I going to be okay with you? One of the things I love about NA was you guys just loved me until I could love myself. You let me be as crazy and stupid and insane and asinine as I possibly needed to be. You just kept loving me. Kept loving me until I could love myself, and just kept telling me it's okay. It's okay. Just keep coming back. You constantly told me that, and I so needed that. I couldn't tell you I so needed that. And when I needed it, oh heck no, too much pride and ego. I was full of that. One of the major things that have kicked my ass more than anything else in recovery is false pride and ego. Totally, and the more aware I am, and more conscientious I am of when I am being prideful or when I am being egotistical, the less I seem to be doing it, that I can step back and go, oh, no. Because I don't like how it feels. I really don't like how it feels at all. I don't like hurting other people in any way, shape, or form anymore. That's no. It's not necessary, Carol Ann. It's just not necessary. And so I really try hard not to do that. I met my husband in recovery, and we've been married for how many years we've been married? I forgot. 18? 17. Thanks, honey. Usually it's right, the Kurt we should remember. But sometimes I just forget. And I can say that our, my husband, our marriage is a blessing. Even though days, it doesn't seem like that, I know it is. But it's one of those things again that is past knowing. It is. It's a part of my being, and I understand that. And for us, it's like I have been married and divorced. You know what? And I told Johnny that I said, you know what? I'm not going anywhere. I said, this is it. You're stuck with me. If Manny, because we could get in arguments, what I'm saying? I said, anybody going to leave, you're going to have to leave, because I ain't going anywhere. No matter what. Okay? And it's like, we have a commitment, and we honor that commitment. And we do things together, and we love each other, and we try to practice, we practice the principles to the best of our ability, and as a result of that, our relationship is good. I don't have to know where he's going, what he's doing, how, when, where, I don't have to, it's cool. Hey, he's a free, hey, you can go do however you want, he doesn't have to but we like to tell each other, hey, honey, I'm going over here, I'll see you in a while, okay, you know what I mean? It's nobody's has to be checking anybody else, any of that kind of stuff. I guess what I'm saying, I totally trust my husband, you know what I mean? And I know he totally trusts me. And that's really beautiful, and I think that's a direct result, of the application of the principles contained within the steps. And, the steps are to the individual what the traditions are to the group, and like if you really want to know about your fellow addict, get into the traditions and really study them, and you'll really learn a lot about, your fellow addict. That's the way I have learned anyway. And I'll shut up with this, is that, because it's almost time to stop, is that, okay. Jim says I got 5. Okay. That, like I said, when I got here, I didn't know how to have a relationship. When I got here, I had a very punishing God. And by the way, I'm from New York. I was born in Canada, and I was raised in upstate New York, and I came out here when I was like about 19. Just to let you know how good it is, clean time can be if you make a commitment to, the program and this way of life, which to me it's a way of life, is that I learned about taking care of myself, really, inside and out. Like, I love these kind of stores, these health food things. I love them. And so in 79, I had 12 years of psychotherapy since I've been clean. I've had 12 years. My husband and I went 4 years together. And this is all things that we needed to get us exactly where we're here today. I regret none of it. Absolutely none of it. This is what I needed to do, to get where I need to be, And God bless you. Wherever you need to go to get what you got to get to be where you need to be, and stay clean, so be it. And God bless you. I'm not one of these people who say, you ought to do just this or that or that. Oh, no. Who am I to tell you? Who am I? You know what I mean? So I don't go there. I just say, God bless you. Do what you need to do. Just stay clean no matter what. You know what I mean? And this is what's happened to me, is that the most important relationship I think I've learned to develop in this program is a relationship with God, which I had when I got here. It's all about a punishing God. That's what I knew when I got here. A very punishing God. And today I don't have that. And today I have been introduced, to a very loving God. And it's a direct result of the steps. It's a direct result of people like you in rooms like this. My husband, who was locked up for 25 years of his life, we get up in the morning and we say our prayers. And we, like this morning, it's Sunday, and we go to church and we pray together and we thank God that where we're at today. And that's good for us, and this is what's happened. I mean, what a total, 180, might even call it a 360, you know what I mean? It's like from where we come from, where I come from anyway, and I know from my husband, and that's why I talk about this thing being clean as a blessing. For me, it is a total blessing. I believe God, He has blessed me with this thing called Clean Time. He has blessed me with meetings and people like you and places like this, that you, each one of you in this room, continue to bless me on a daily basis. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for that. Thank you for letting me share.
Awesome. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Please help us improve our ranking so others can find us by putting a review on Stitcher, iTunes, or your favorite podcast index. NAPOD is ad-free thanks to the folks supporting the show with $1 or more per month. If you enjoy listening, you can join them by going to napod.xyz and looking for the donate link. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.